Let's find out, Bob. Hope you're taking notes, folks. Getting a history lesson here.
Well, this is good. These guys have definitely made history, no doubt about that. Here's the Ricky Henderson, who's played in about 1 billion teams and has the most stolen bases.
I have a very good friend of mine who I grew up with. Ricky Henderson is his favorite player of all time. Mr. Steele, right?
Mr. Steele.
Man of Steel.
He broke Lou Brock's record that held for a very long time. And yeah, I mean, look, he was also a great hitter. He was one of the all-time, I believe, leadoff hitters that ever hit home runs.
He's got so many steals. They focused on his running.
Right.
They forget he could get those hits.
Right. I loved him on the Mets the one year. I really thought the Mets in '99 actually. I thought when he was there we could have won it all. But what the Mets should have done that year, they were good that year. For A-Rod, because I know Seattle wanted to do it 1-on-1. They should have done it. The Mets would have won it, and they should have been.
Well, the Mets are all about should have, right? Should have, could have.
I think that's their actual first name at birth. They just changed it. Richard Hirschfield Williams, Dick Williams, one of the best managers ever. Oakland, Boston, California. He actually was the Oakland manager in 2 of the 3 World Series. Eventually, he got into a fight with the owner. Trying to think of his name offhand. The ex-mayor of Kansas City, actually. He was cheap. The owner was cheap. He didn't want to pay. He would pay everybody 1 year. They said, and Reggie, that's why Reggie left. Charlie Finley, that was his name. And that's why Reggie hooked out to Baltimore and then eventually the Yankees. He would only give him 1 year. He goes, no, I'm not paying anymore because then you'll just tank it. And he's kind of right because that's what a lot of players do now. They always play great on their their walking, and the rest of the time they don't. They steal money. But he was a great manager though. He won 2 out of 3 World Series. He beat the Reds, Big Red Machine, and the Mets. 2 out of 3 league blew it. They didn't pitch George Stone. They blew it. Walter O'Malley, legendary owner for the Dodgers. He's the one who brought him over to LA from Brooklyn. And, he was the reason. He made some deals back, deals, and he got him out. He didn't even tell anybody he was going to leave. They just got him out. Them and the Giants left overnight. They left overnight. The next day, there was nobody there in New York, except for the Yankees. So the Mets weren't born yet, fortunately.
Overnight. It was a nighttime deal, huh?
It was a nighttime deal. It's kind of like the Colts with Baltimore, right?
They snuck out.
Here's Goose Gossage. I remember him when he was with the White Sox in the beginning. He was a really good closer, and then he went to the evil Yankees. I'm a Mets fan, so I can say all this. And he was just Ricky Soulfield, who had a hit against him. He threw over 100 miles an hour, one of the few that did at the time. And I know Rick, I went to high school with him. He was a star quarterback. He should have played football, but he ended up playing in the major league. He was a great player. He had a hit against him, and he goes, what's that like? He goes, I couldn't see the ball. 3 fastballs. All I heard the sound, and I went 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. And that was it. His slider was 98 miles an hour. His fastball was over 100. I mean, and the slider is not a straight pitch, so it's really hard to hit if it is. And then we got Ripken.
There he is.
What can I say?
Another one, well into his 40s, right?
You know what? I can actually tell you something about him. This at 81, I believe it was 83. I think that was his rookie year, or maybe 82. I think it was his rookie year. But
he had a very good postseason batting average.
He did. But I got to tell you, when he first got in the league, when that streak was starting, I never forget this. I called my brother, and he goes, "You think he can actually break Derek Jeter? This is in the 80s." I go, "If you don't get hurt, I think he's going to do it." And my brother was just blown away. He goes, "How can you say that?" Because I just think he's going to do it. And sure as heck, my brother was at. He got tickets for the President of the United States, Clinton, and he went to the game. And he didn't tell me. And I was so mad because he didn't call. But there he is, and he did it. He absolutely did it. And that's a true story. And by the way, here's Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre.
Oh, Tony Gwynn, one of my favorites.
Yeah, we're getting on a show somebody that played with him. I don't think I told you that, Rob, but I know him, and we're going to get him on. And he said he was amazing. He would always treat him really nice. And he was just a hitter. He was just a flat-out hitter. 1 year,
he just came off as a great guy.
Yeah. He batted, I think he batted over 390 1 year. And
going by memory, there was some controversy. He was He was in a press conference. There was a couple bad calls. They got screwed over when they were in at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot who they lost to. Was it the Yankees?
Well, the Padres lost.
They made it to the World Series.
Yeah, they lost to the Yankees 4-3. They did, but 2 of those 4 they should have won because that pitch was a strike to Tino. He should have struck out. And
I just remember Tony Gwynn being up there, being like, it should have been this call.
Right. There's Bowie Q, better known as for the good of baseball. He would actually block trades and screw the Yankees. I respect this man. He was a commissioner in the 70s. I do remember, and he would always. There was one year the Yankees wanted to make a trade. He said, "No, you have enough players for the good of baseball to get it," and that's what he did. He's my hero ever since.
How much did the Yankees win during his reign? During when he was
I can tell you,
as a commissioner?
Okay, 69, his first year, the Mets won.
The Mets won.
In 1970.
What do you like this guy?
In 1970, the Baltimore Orioles won. In 71, the Pirates won. In 72, 3 and 4, Oakland won. In 75, the Reds beat the Red Sox. In 76, the Yankees were in the World Series, but lost 4 straight to the Reds. Then the Yankees won 2 in 77 and 78 both. And then in 79, the Pirates beat the Baltimore Orioles at a 3-1 lead. My sister went to the game. She came home in the snow. It was snowing that night. It was really
the Yankees did not win a World Series during his tenure.
No, they did. They did win 2.
They did.
Yeah, because Reggie popped ship from the Orioles in 76. And he went there, and that's what happened. He still blocked trades that would have made him win more. For the good of baseball.
So they'd have over 30 championships if it wasn't for that guy.
I don't believe that, but if you want to think it, you can. But that is what happened, and that's the one. And I love him for that. And actually, we have, because we're getting to the really good. Well, he played with the Cardinals the longest. But even as a Cub, the Cubs were insane to let him go. Because this is Bruce Sutter, by the way. We talked about him on the end because you asked me about Mariano, and like, maybe come in too. I'll talk to you too. He was. But before Mariano, he was the best closer I've ever seen. He had split finger fastball, and back then they called it fork. They changed names. They changed the name, but it was a fork, and that's right. You put your fingers on it. It was really hard, but it was straight down, and there'd be batting, and they'd miss it. He was an amazing player. He went to the Cardinals. I liked him better on the Cubs. Yeah. But again, this is the second time the Cubs blew it. They traded Lou Brock to the Cardinals because they drafted Lou Brock, which was insane.
They probably didn't have the money to pay the Cubs at that time.
No. And then he went to the Atlanta Braves in his career, but I loved him. He was a great. I wasn't a big Cardinal fan. I'd rather see him on the Cubs, but he was a great player. I'd see him on. And there's just a lot of players here. I don't know who all these guys are because they were. These are league league players. Okay, that's good. But they should be put on this show because they're legends. I mean, that doesn't change anything. They're just great people, great players. You can see all their names if you want to just flash by them. Over there before I forgot. There was an executive named, I think, John Montgomery Ward. And I believe he started Montgomery Ward. Not just, I believe he was the guy that started the department store. And he was part of baseball. Let's see what we got here. Dennis Eckersley.
Oh, yeah.
The Eck was one of the greatest, you talk about one of the greatest relievers of all time. Yeah, he was. But you know what you don't know? On the Indians and on Boston. In 1978, he was a Red Sox. He was 20-3, 20-2, something like that. Beat the Yankees 3 times that year. And he would have pitched against them again in that one-game playoff, but the Yankees came out of nowhere and tied it. Instead, he had to pitch the day before because the Yankees had a 1-game lead going into the last game of the year. He ended up winning his last game. Cleveland came to Yankee Stadium and beat him. That set up the 1-game playoff. But if this guy had pitched, there wouldn't have been no Yankee win in 78 because the Red Sox were better, way better. That guy was amazing. He was a great. Not only he was on
78 was the 1-game playoff.
It was the year
at the end.
Yeah, it was the year where Warner Wolf on Sports Every Night was going. The Yankees are 14 games out in July, so basically the Red Sox will have to die for the Yankees to catch them, and they did. They did. They lost like every day, and the Yankees won every day, and they caught them. It was the biggest turnaround. And weirdly enough, what people don't know about that year, the Pirates were 10 games out at the same time from the Phils. And it looked like there was no one. And it came down to the last day with them. The Phillies had to beat them on the last day to win the division. Nobody even knew about that. That was totally forgotten. Mike Schmidt was on that team actually. We saw him before. Here's Ryan Sandberg.
One of my favorites.
Ryan, yeah.
My dad and I love this guy.
I believe he's here today.
This is definitely one of my father and I's favorite players.
He was a great second baseman. There's no doubt about it. The Cubs weren't all that great when he was there, but
I know.
But he was great.
He was great.
And this guy, Molitor. Him and Yount. They were the second baseman and shortstop, him and Yount. And they were great with the Brewers. He was just a great player. And then he finally did win in Minnesota.
Arguably the best pitcher to play in RBI baseball for Nintendo.
That's right.
Not gonna lie.
That's right. And I mean, and he did win, I believe, in '97 with Minnesota. And I believe he's actually part of the Hall of Fame.
He was an unbelievable pitcher.
I think he's in the executive office of the Hall of Fame. Because I know.
Did he have an unorthodox throw?
Molly?
Yeah.
A little, not too much. More Yount, I would think, if I had to guess.
There was another pitcher that era that he just had this weird. The mechanics just looked bizarre.
Just a really good.
Thought it was him.
There's Eddie Murray, who was an amazing player with the Orioles, and everywhere else he played. I know Ken Singleton was a good friend with him because Kenny played with him. He did win the World Series, I believe, eventually. Let's see if that's right. 77. Yes, in 1983 he won, where I think Kiko Garcia was the MVP of the World Series, and Rick Dempsey was the catcher, ex-Yankee. He was a good catcher, and he did win that year. But he was he had over 3,000 hits. The man was just amazing, and he did home runs. I used to love him when he beat the Yankees, so I'm a Met fan. So, Ozzie Smith, I'm not gonna say nothing about him. He couldn't hit though, I can say that. But
Ozzie.
Yeah. I mean, he was Mr. Gold Glove every year, and he rivaled Brooks Robinson. And could he field? Let me tell you something. When he was in San Diego, he made one of the best fielding plays ever. He literally picked it with his offhand, not his glove hand, diving, and just got up and threw the guy out. I never forget that. He didn't even use the glove. That's how great he was. He reminded me of Omar Vizquel, who could feel, and Omar could hit better. And then we have Mr. May, Dave Winfield, Mr. Padre. That explains it right there, Mr. Padre. He was Mr. May. He was a good hitter and all that, but what was funny? I got to tell you about that. When he was with Toronto, and they did win in '92 with Joe Carter. He got the double that set it up. And I'm sitting there watching the game with my friend, and I go, he's going to do it. Finally, it's his moment. And he looked at me and went, what? I go, Winfield's going to get the double. And he hit a double right down the line. Toronto won the game and the World Series. But for years, he was a laughing stock because Steinbrenner picked up, Mr. May and all that. But because he used to choke us. He was the heir apparent to Reggie. Unfortunately for the Yankees, that never happened. He was good, but not that good. And then we got Kerry Carter. With the Montreal, he was unreal. He had a gun, he could hit. And when he went to the Mets, he helped them win it. And, he was just an amazing player. He had 2 home runs in Game 4 in '86 over the Green Monster. And he got one of the hits in the 9th inning when the Mets came back on the Red Sox with 2 outs and nobody on. I believe he was the first one to get a hit in the inning because Keith made the second out and there was nobody on. Keith went in and started opening a beer, thinking about next season, and all of a sudden, get out there. We just got out there. And then the Mets won that crazy game. Mookie jumping on the plate, Kevin Mitchell and Mookie with the wild pitch, and then threw Buckner's legs. So, yeah, but Gary was amazing. He was a great player. Oh no, this is somebody from the old days. I don't know this one. Maybe this was named after him. He was from the Negro League apparently, and he did quite a bit. He was really, really good. 6-time All-Star, no hitter. Chicago American.
We stumped you, Bob. We found one.
Did.
We finally found one.
Lee Smith was a pitcher with the closer. There are other Lee Smith than I knew. But the guys. Here's one of the Yankees' favorites guys right here, Bill Mazeroski. He's the one that hit the ball in 1960 over Yogi's head in Pittsburgh to win the game 10-9. And that game was, that series was The Yankees 16-1, the Yankees 11-1, but the Pirates 9-7, the Pirates 4-3, and they won 4 times, and they were underdogs, and they went in and beat Maris and Mel, and that was not easy. But he did, and he was never forgotten. Was he a great player? No, but because of that, that's why he's here. He was a pretty good player, wasn't great, but that's why he's here. Because of the home run. You know what the best part is? I'm not a Met fan. And when he hit that, my brother and sister, my older ones were Met fans, and they were on the sidewalk right after he hit, crying their little eyes out. I told me it was beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful. I don't remember. I was an infant. I was 1 month old when he popped. But I know they told me, and it made me really happy when I heard it.
I watched it.
Did you really?
I grew up.
Did you really cry? Oh, that's 3 people that cried. I just thought my brother and sister were the only 2. Yeah, they were 12 and 10, maybe, or 9. I was literally born the month before he hit. I was born in September. Yeah.
They should have never won the World Series.
Well, that's what I just got through saying.
Beat up.
They got beat up. You guys won 16-1, 12-2, but they won all the close ones. Right? 9-7, 10-9, yeah. Right. The 10-9 game. And that was the game where Kubek got it in the throat. The ball came up in the throat, right? It was a double play. They would have never won. He went to get it. And you know what? Last week, that happened to a player. And it reminded me of that. The guy goes to get it, and he put his chin down too far. And he was like, they had to take him out of the game. In the throat. Yeah, he almost died. Yeah, and Kubek too. Yeah, almost died. Yeah, they thought his career was never the same. He was a good player before that. You know what I mean? It was 14. Yeah. It would have been 2 outs and nobody on. Instead, it was 2 on and nobody out. And it set the Pirates up to tie the game.
That's great.
Yeah. Chris Kirby Bucket. What can you say about him? He was just an amazing player. And he won with the Minnesota Twins. He played there all his life. He was a little chubby. You wouldn't think he was a baseball player. No, that's not true. Because anybody any side can play. He was a little power, stocky guy, and he had a lot of home runs. He played in what they used to call the baggy dome because they played at Minnesota, and they would go, "Okay, Minnesota's batting, turn it on." You know, and every time they were up, the only thing would go out, and then when the other team turn off the machine, and the thing would never go over the fence. But they had a nice setup because they, weirdly enough, in '87 when he won it, they had played the Tigers, and the Tigers were really, really good. And I told my friend, I'm like, you know what? I think Minnesota's going to beat them because Minnesota didn't have a good record, but they won the division in the West. And I go, and I knew when they went to Detroit, everybody thought, well, you know, they're going to lose it. I go, no, today the matchups are in favor. Jack the Cat Morris was amazing. He pitched on Detroit before that. And sure as heck, they won that game, and then they took him out in the baggy day. That is true, and he won the World Series. Let's see what else we got. Carlton Fisk.
Carlton Fisk, all
Carlton
time.
Yeah, you know, Mr. Home Run. You know, it's funny in '75 when he did that. Okay, not in that game. So what people don't know, the game before, okay, Ed Armbrust was a backup for the Reds, and the Reds had guys on base, and the game was timed. And, you know, Sparky Anderson said, "Okay, bunt the ball." So he bunts the ball, and this is what he does. Fisk goes up because he's gonna throw the second to get the guy out. And Armbrust had the bat in his hand. He went like this, and he interfered. And Young saw it, and Young went, didn't see it. Cost them the World Series. The Red Sox were winning that game. What happened was the Reds took the lead, so they go 6-3, and then the 8th inning, Bernie Carmen.
What World Series was this?
This was 1975. This was the year when Fisk in Game 6, the home run with him. You know. But what ended up happening was Bernie Carmen.
Don't assume all the viewers know about.
Oh, I did say 75. I thought.
No, well, they don't know you're talking about the hit or something.
Oh, the home. Everybody knows. We're gonna watch it upstairs. Where they're gonna show it. But he in Game 5, the series was tied 2-2, and the Red Sox should have won that game. And they never called interference. It should have been out. And the guy should have had to go back to first base because he bunted, and the guy broke for second. And the catcher, Fisk was the catcher. He goes up to throw it, and he's just going like this, like you can't see, so you can't throw it. You know, and they never did anything. They never overturned it. And that ended up big because the Reds took a 6-3 lead later in the game. And with 2 outs in the 8th inning, a rookie named Bernie Carbon was amazing. Okay, he played on the Reds early in the year. They traded him to the Red Sox, cracks a 3-run homer, ties the 6-6. And then, but they fell short and ended up losing the World Series because they didn't lose the World Series. Let's see what else we got. We have these are some of the newer players. Great name, Smokey. Smokey Cycle. All these guys should be looked at. They're all great. This guy, how about this? This guy, Cincinnati, and not even in the American or National League, the AA League. 1882 to 1889. This guy.
Yeah, when they're rocking that cap, they're 1800s.
So I love those caps. They actually use those caps. I think was it in when the Pirates won it in '79. They were actually throwback caps, and all the teams were wearing them. I actually picked those caps a lot. They're really, really cool. The guy's going to be. He's here today. Randall Cepeda. He played with. He played with the Giants. They used to call him the baby ball, and he played with the Giants and the Cardinals. I remember as a little kid, he just hit the ball so far on both teams because he was great on both teams. And when he was with the Giants, he was in the lineup with McCovey and Mays and whoever they were to be. They were just hard to beat. They were great, and he's just a great player. I believe he's an umpire. Nestor Schuyler. He was. I remember him. He was an umpire for years, and he was on the American. He was the American League. And back then they used to have the balloon, like the National League used to have the inside protector. The American League had this balloon. And so that's why the strike zones are different. Because when you had the balloon, the umpire had to look around to see where the pitch was, because he couldn't see. But
did you say there was a balloon?
Yeah, it was like a protector. It was a balloon chest protector.
And that shaped the strike zone?
It was outside. It was like a backpack over here.
And that would designate the strike zone.
Well, it was the American League always had a high strike and the National had a low. I think that's what it was. And the reason was because he had to he couldn't see too good over the balloon, like the American, not just him, but all of them. But they had different strike zones. And the American League was I believe it was a fastball league, and the National was a curveball league. That's what they used to call it. And there you go.
There it is.
There's Babe Ruth.
The one, the only.
And I'll tell you right now let me tell you something about him. He was the greatest player of all time. I know a lot of people think he wasn't, but a lot of people aren't smart either. He was the greatest player. Coach Wooden, my brother, Coach John Wooden told my brother, he goes, when I was a little kid, I watched him play. And he goes, he never made a mistake. He played the outfield. He was great. He played with Boston pitching. He was great. He still got records that never been broken. And World Series records never been broken. He hit the ball. Farther than anybody. And he saved the game in 1920 with all his home runs. And he loved kids, and he was amazing. And I don't even got to tell you much more because,
it's Babe Ruth. It's Babe Ruth.
I can tell you the years won though, if you like.
Yeah, what years?
Okay. He won in 1915 with the Red Sox, 1916 with the Red Sox, 1918 with the Red Sox, 1923 with the Yankees, 1927 and 8 with the Yankees, 1932 with the Yankees. And then I think after 32, he went to play. He played on the Braves, and he played on the Braves, but the Dodgers wanted him to play them or be manager. He didn't want to be manager. That's what it was. Here's Christian Matheson. He was one of the greatest pitchers of all time. He played at the turn of the century and played on the Giants, and then later in Cincinnati. He was, there was nobody better than this guy, outside of maybe Cy Young. Actually, he might have been better because I know Cy had the most wins, but you just couldn't beat this guy. And the Giants were really good. I believe in the 1905, he won it. Giants won it. He won a couple times. So you just couldn't hit him. And I know one of these pitchers, it might have been him. He died, one of them died in a train accident. One of the legends back then. I don't know if it was him or it wasn't Walter Johnson. Maybe it was Walter. I don't know. But he was amazing. Where's Wagner? That guy's baseball card is worth something, let me tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Understatement of all.
Yes. He's an amazing player with the Pirates. Greatest, one of the greatest shortstops ever. Let me see. I think the Pirates, they might have won the World Series. I do believe they did. Yeah, they had to. They did win in that 17-year span. I don't remember who they beat. I don't know if they beat the White Sox or maybe even the A's. They were really good. Yankees weren't ready yet. This is in the early days. So, but yeah, he was a legend, obviously.